In this video, I'd like to introduce you to snapshot testing. And a snapshot sounds as something heavy, but it's actually quite simple. A snapshot is a file that is written on disk, and if the output of your test matches the snapshot, then your test succeeds. If the output of your test doesn't match the snapshot, then the test fails. It'll become more clear with a practical example. The snapshot assertion methods aren't available by default in PEST. They live in a separate plugin, which you can find on the PEST site. And the only thing that you have to do to get started is by installing this package. With the package installed, you should be able to use the assert matches snapshot function. Okay, let's take a look at how we can use this. In the previous video, we've coded up this test. In this test, we are going to render a blade component and assert that we see certain things. Instead of manually asserting some pieces, we could use a snapshot. So let's refactor this test a little bit. I'm going to put the rendered HTML here in a variable. I'm going to grab this, convert it to a string, so it's certainly a string and not a test view, like that. I'm going to give that rendered view to assert rendered snapshot. And let's import this. And here we are going to do just the same. Rendered HTML. Make this a little bit more clear. We can lose the assertions. And let's pass the rendered HTML to the snapshot function. And I should also convert this to a string. Okay, let's now run our test. And I'm going to use my little pf alias. So whenever I type pf, it is expanded by this. So either you could set up your own pf bash alias, or you could just type it in full. So pf, name of the test, and execute it. We can see now that PEST didn't return green for our test, but a warning. And it also says that a snapshot was created. Let's refresh the file system. And then we should see a snapshot directory here. And it contains two files, one for each assert matches snapshot call. The output that we gave it is written to the snapshot. Let's open it. And here you can see the entire rendered blade component. Let's now run the test again. Now we get green because the rendered HTML that we pass to assert matches snapshot matches the content that is written inside of the snapshot. And this can be very handy. We don't need to make manual assertions ourselves, and the entirety of the HTML is verified. This kind of testing can be very handy when your output is very large and you don't want to make assertions on every little detail. For example, if your code writes a JSON file, some big chunk of HTML, some XML, and so on. Let's see what happens if we change something in the rendered HTML. I'm going to go to the component and I'm going to change the date format in which this date is written. Let's now run the test again. And now the test fails because the HTML given to assert matches snapshot doesn't match what is written inside the snapshot. If this change is really a change we want to make, we need to update the snapshots. You could do that by deleting the snapshots and running the test again so the new snapshot gets written, but there's also a shortcut for that. What you could do is tack on the update snapshots, and then the snapshots will be rewritten. Let's try that. We get a warning again, and PEST says that the snapshot was updated. Let's take a look at the snapshot. We see the updated date format. And if we run the test again without the update snapshots, then we should get green again. And that is basically all there is to snapshot testing. I would recommend not to go overboard with this technique and only use it on large parts of output. When your output is only very small, like in this example, you could consider just using regular assert methods. You should be aware that using a snapshot can be a little bit brittle because any change to the output will fail your test. So keep that in mind. Let's go over to the PEST documentation one more time. And you can see that there are a couple of assert matches snapshot methods. We use this one, that is the generic one, but there are also a couple of specialized ones. And the big difference between general one and the specialized ones is that the specialized ones can provide better error output when your snapshot doesn't match what you are expecting. For instance, if you have XML output, use this method to get better diffs. And that is basically all there is to it.